Life Audio.
Now, I've always been interested in theology. It's been something that I've just, but I focused in on Bible prophecy at some point. My original ministry started out, I kind of came out of the New Age, and I was very keen. I think one of the core things is that I don't like deception. And so after being deceived in the New Age, I felt compelled to sort of explain all the reasons it was wrong to people. And it was the early days of YouTube and things like that, so it kind of became known for that, which kind of just morphed into I don't know what, really. But here we are.
All right, so talk to us about Revelation 18:19. Talk to us about the role that Jerusalem plays in the end times.
You know, Mystery Babylon is been confusing for a lot of people, but I think that if you just use Scripture and compare Scripture with Mystery Babylon, it it's amazing. I think I counted in my book about Mystery Babylon about 90 characteristics that are in those chapters of 17 and 18. Little details about her that you can do a word search in the Old Testament, like use the Septuagint or something to get an equivalent Greek word. And oftentimes, the only time that word is used is in some obscure passage at Jeremiah 50, and it all seems to be saying this same story, which is, and I'm going to give you sort of the broad strokes here, as opposed to the details, just in the interest of time. So there's this woman who's wearing this headband, she's drinking wine, and she is riding this seven-headed, ten-horned beast. And we know through the earlier part of the book of Revelation that the seven-headed, ten-horned beast is the Antichrist or Satan in some sense. And she is promoting him. It says that the world is made drunk by the fierceness of her fornication. She says that this beast that she's riding is a husband and a king. She's happy with him, and she's promoting his worship to the rest of the world. What she is, and I think you can make a case based on what it says, comparing Scripture with Scripture, is that she is a harlot high priest. For example, the headband says, Mystery Babylon, mother of harlots. And by the way, that term, mother of harlots, is a term used all the time in the Old Testament of Jerusalem. Mother of harlots being the city is the mother, the children are the inhabitants of the city.
And the false prophets and those with hearts that have gone cold and not really following the Lord, but calling
Sure,
themselves
sure.
spiritual.
And so I don't want so much to say here, but the headband says if you look at the headband of the high priest, it's holiness to the Lord. She's wearing all the same colors as the high priest. She's functioning like a high priest in that she is. And if you think about it, and I haven't got to the thesis here, but the thesis is that the early church believed that the Antichrist would present himself as the Jewish Messiah, that his main function would be to essentially to trick the Jews that he was their Messiah. And so you have the world being drawn into the worship of this Messiah through this harlot high priest, who, by the way, later on gets turned on. The beast turns on her and tries to kill her. So it's almost a tragic story in a way that she's used to promote the worship of this Antichrist and later is turned on. I think a good way to think of it is learning your true millennial prophecies of what Jesus is supposed to do, and then looking at what the Antichrist does. Mystery Babylon is a picture of a fake millennial kingdom. Let me just give you a list of prophecies about the millennium that the Antichrist will do, but a lot of people don't think of because they don't have a really robust theology about the millennium. The Messiah will fit. Yeah, right. So the Messiah will physically rule the world with a rod of iron. Jerusalem will be the world's capital. Temple sacrifices will resume. A world pilgrimage system will exist. The Messiah will sit in the temple to accept worship. Elijah will precede the Messiah, who I believe is the false prophet, or the false prophet will pretend to be Elijah, calling down fire from heaven, etc. The Messiah will physically defeat Assyria, Egypt, and incorporate them into Israel's expanded borders. the Messiah will defeat the surrounding nations, Moab, Ammon, Cush, all nations that the Antichrist is set to defeat in Daniel 11. So Daniel 11 literally defeats the exact nations that are prophesied that Jesus will defeat. And it's important to realize that if you're a Jewish person right now, you know those passages in Isaiah 10. A lot of Christians, or Isaiah 11, excuse me, a lot of Christians don't know that the Messiah is supposed to defeat Moab, Ammon, Cush, etc. But if you're a Jewish person waiting for the Messiah, you do know that. And so if a person does do that, it's going to be hard for you to resist that temptation. I could go on, but death and resurrection is also something I believe that the Antichrist does to fulfill prophecy. And we mentioned things like the new covenant. So a broader understanding of the theology, of true theology, helps to inform the fake information that we're giving about the Antichrist. I think the point that I'm most worried about is something that you might be able to understand better than some people, which is I think of sometimes the underground church in China and how prone we are as Christians to kind of see everything as the Antichrist. After 9/11, it was Islam, and if you look at the history, we always thought it was Nero or Genghis Khan or Hitler or any kind of bad guy. Every Democratic president, we come up with the theories to fit the Bible.
And we're continually looking at filtering through our worldview, and we're looking at the geopolitical landscape and interpreting everything for right now and trying to make it fit, and we do fit in our minds.
Yes.
So that's the danger, and that's part of why I think it's so helpful to listen to you. You're such a deep student, and you expose this stuff because you're so good at analysis. So I'm hoping people are even getting chills listening to this, because it's like we need to wake up. The deceiver is going to deceive, but
Life Audio.